Every year, there are a number of awards that are giving out in the cruise industry. There's a lot of them, actually. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with all of you, I don't pay that much attention to awards in general. I mean, in some cases, they're popularity contests. Sometimes they're based on who knows what. But obviously, at the end of the day, they're people's opinions. And ultimately, I don't choose my cruises based on other people's opinions. I might take it in for consideration or look at what people are thinking and certainly read some reviews for, entertainment and kind of just getting some insight into what's changing, what's new and different within the cruise industry. But cruise awards have always been a topic that I've kind of looked at, analyzed, and kind of just been like, okay, whatever. But they do get a lot of attention because at the end of the day, I don't care what cruise line you are, you want to be number one. You want to get recognition. You want to be the very best, right? And even for me as a Royal Caribbean fan, I'll be honest with all of you, when I look at these awards, oftentimes I'm looking to see, it's like validation. If Royal Caribbean wins every single award, then I'm like, yeah, well, they should have done that. Exactly. That's what I thought. And then when they don't win the awards, then you get upset. You're like, oh, I can't believe it didn't happen. And this year, Cruise Critic put out its awards for 2025. And, of all the awards that are out there, I give Cruise Critic a little more credence. We've had a number of folks from Cruise Critics here on this podcast. I, quite frankly, value what they have to offer. I think that their approach, how they do things, essentially kind of is the way that I would want my site to be run in a way. So we're kind of like-minded in that regard. Now, the awards that came out this year, I don't see eye to eye on them. I'll be honest with all of you. I think some of the awards, and I've felt this way about a lot of awards in the cruise, like regardless if it's from cruise or in general, some categories I think are skewed towards certain cruise lines, and it'll almost always be like that. And I feel like it's unfair in some regards. We'll get to that in a moment here. But Royal Caribbean did win some awards in certain categories, didn't win nearly as many as I think they should have gotten. And I think some of these awards are, I don't know. I mean, part of it is I looked at the methodology, because the awards that they're offering, the Cruise Critic Best in Cruise Year Awards, combine not only the reviews of the editorial staff, but also the reviews they get from the travelers, right? Regular people. And that's good and bad. On the one hand, if you have, 10,000 reviews, well, that's a good number. That's a healthy number of reviews to get a sense of things. But I also feel that, again, we've talked about this. We had a great episode, if you haven't listened to it, with Colleen McDaniel on here talking about, reviews in general and how they can, we were talking more about AI and things of that nature. But when you're talking about reviews from non-professionals, in a lot of cases, you're going to get, it may skew in certain directions. If you get a lot of people, Cruise Critic can have a lot of readership from one cruise line, not so much from another one. And I'm not saying that their reviews are bad or anything like that. I don't think the data is bad. I feel like in a lot of cases, you're getting fans, and that's not a bad thing. You're gonna have Royal Caribbean fans who go there for the Royal Caribbean message boards. You go there, Carnival fans for the Carnival stuff. Anyway, I don't agree with some of the awards that were given in the way they were done. And today I wanted to share some of those. Like, number one, Best Ocean Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages. Now, according to Cruise Critics editors, Virgin Voyages has redefined cruising, delivering cutting-edge innovation, nearly all-inclusive fares, and exceptional onboard experiences, exceeding every exception along the way. Now, have I been on a Virgin Voyage cruise? I have not. I have a negative view of Virgin Voyages in a couple of ways. I think they came into it to, like they said, Virgin Voyages is redefined cruising. They came into it with this way, they had this, I think, this attitude of, we're not a cruise line, man. We're coming into it with, we're going to be totally different. And then you know what they did? They walked a lot of that back. Some things they did change. I do like the fact that they're nearly all inclusive. That is a really, for a mainstream cruise line / premium line, I think that is a wonderful change, and I welcome that. I think it's great. I hate their adults-only focus. I think it's silly. I think it's childish. No pun intended. I think it's the wrong direction, quite frankly. But I also think that they have this too cool for school attitude that's always rubbed me the wrong way about Virgin Voyages. But to get Best Ocean Cruise Line, I mean, they have a handful of ships. Every ship is exactly the same. They're carbon copies of each other. They have very limited itineraries where they go to. I don't think that's worthy of Best Ocean Cruise Line. I think that's like Rookie of the Year award, maybe, but that's about it. I don't think it doesn't rise to that level. Now, you say, well, Matt, you think it should be Royal Caribbean. I would be okay if it was other cruise lines. I just don't think Virgin Voyages is worthy of Best Ocean Cruise Line because, again, they're right now they're still a one-trick pony. They kind of came out with this adults-only, semi-premium cruise line. They're in that Celebrity Princess line, maybe, or Royal Caribbean Plus. Everyone will look at it. Great. And I like some of the changes they've done, but they haven't really done much beyond that. I feel like they're kind of just well, we came up with plan A. And we're basically still working on that. And I don't think in 2025, going into 2026, that's worthy of best ocean cruise line. Best new ship, Celebrity Excel. Cruise Critic's editor said Excel elevates and reinvents Celebrity Cruises' acclaimed Edge-class ships. And they're talking about the experience with the Bazaar and some of their changes that are there. I have two problems with Celebrity Excel being the best new ship. Number one, I do think it's, well, I guess I would say Star of the Seas, but I'm going to leave that out of it. Celebrity Excel literally came out like, I don't know, a week or two before the awards came out. I'm a firm believer that you need to have a cruise ship settle a little bit before you pick one. So I don't have a problem with Celebrity Excel. I have less of a problem with Celebrity Excel than I do Virgin Voyages being best ocean cruise line. But I think while it is new, I probably would have kept Excel until 2026, although maybe Celebrity has a new ship coming out in 2026 and they want to have two for the purposes of reviews. I feel like it's so brand new. I don't know. Not to mention the fact, there were a lot of new ships in 2025. Star of the Seas, certainly. There's an MSC new ship out there. there were a lot of new ships that joined the fleets. Disney had one. I don't know. I'm biased in this one. I'm biased in everything, but I'm really not sure that Excel had enough length, if you will, to get out there. Best value for the money, Carnival Cruise Line. This is an interesting one. I think Carnival has gotten more expensive than what it used to be, and this is largely due to the fact that they've invested a lot of quality into their lines. Like the old purple carpet Carnival cruise ships, I feel like are not so much the standard anymore. I think Carnival understands they want to move in a different direction, and I think their Excel class ships certainly are doing that. They are cheaper probably than you're going to find for other lines out there. Carnival Cruise is probably going to cost less than Royal Caribbean, so I don't think I'm going to argue that point at all. I think it's an interesting one. I'm surprised it's actually not the line that we're going to talk about next, which is Margaritaville at Sea, but I don't have a problem with best value at sea. I guess it depends. Again, this also comes into what you feel is value. They did talk about its base fares are lower than most other cruise lines. Agreed. But it doesn't skimp on inclusions or leave you feeling nickel and dimed. I don't know that Carnival includes anything more than Royal Caribbean does or Norwegian does. I'm not so sure I agree with that last line there, but they definitely will cost less on average, especially even for their newer ships compared to Royal Caribbean. So I really don't have a problem with best value being Carnival. Now, Cruiser's Choice Award is really interesting. Margaritaville at Sea. Now, this one, they actually sourced a review from one of their members. So not the editors, but one of the reviewers. And my staff has gone on Margaritaville at Sea at least 3 or 4 times, if not more now. Margaritaville at Sea, I will say this. I've not been on there either, but I have definitely gotten the sense that they are putting in max effort. They started off as, Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, which was definitely a very cheap, let's try to just, put something that's old out there and make some money off of it. Let me tell you something. I've talked to the executives at Margaritaville at Sea at various conferences. They absolutely have very noble ambitions. They are trying extremely hard. I love the direction they're going in. I actually wouldn't mind trying out one of their newer ships. And when I say newer, it's still an old ship, but the newer ones that they've been putting out there, like the Islander, and I believe they have another one coming out. It's kind of interesting where they're going, and their prices are incredible for what you're getting. Obviously, it's not going to compare to Icon or Star of the Seas, but I do agree with the Cruiser's Choice Award's an interesting one. I'd have to actually look up what this actually means because you can make an argument for any cruise line out there. But anyway, we're gonna leave that at there. But it was an interesting one that came out. So for the categories though that truly stand out to me, we talked about best new cruise ship, best ocean line. Okay, but there are others that I truly had to scratch my head on. Best entertainment, Virgin Voyages. I'm sorry, have they been on a Royal Caribbean ship? I just think Royal Caribbean's entertainment is the best in the industry, bar none. I just don't see how Virgin can beat that. They have interesting entertainment from what I've seen. I've again not been on the ship, but I really don't think Virgin's entertainment rises to the level. First and foremost, Royal Caribbean has full Broadway shows. I still think that is the basis for an exceptional level of entertainment. Not every ship has it, to be fair, but they have enough on there that I think it definitely rises to that level that makes it worthwhile. They have best for families MSC cruises. Boy, do I disagree on this one. I mean, I'm actually surprised it's not Disney, because I was usually Disney just gets like, well, it's Disney, we'll give it to the best for families, which I always disagree with because I think their pricing is ridiculous and most families can't afford it. But MSC, my problem with MSC, and I've said this before, they seem like they constantly are just copying other lines, primarily Royal Caribbean, and re-implementing reverse engineered, poorly implemented copies of what Royal Caribbean has. Look no further than any of their brand new ships that look exactly like the Oasis class ships. I mean, they're not bad, but they're just like missing something. There's a je ne sais quoi that's just not quite there. And I feel like that really leaves it. I don't believe MSC Cruise Line is best for families. I'm shocked that it's there. I'm wondering if price is driving a lot of that. In fact, when we were talking about best value for the money and Carnival won that, I probably would have given that to MSC. I don't think anybody here can argue some of the pricing MSC has is incredibly aggressive. But best for families, I mean, there's a family component to it, but I don't see that one at all. This one I definitely would have given to Royal Caribbean. I feel like that's a gimme. Categories Royal Caribbean did win for: best for remote workers, speaking to the high-speed internet with Starlink, which, again, I don't disagree with. I think Starlink is amazing. I'm actually recording this episode on board Wonder of the Seas, and yes, the internet is working phenomenally. So, yeah, I mean, I can totally understand where they're coming with that one. Best suites, Royal Caribbean again, certainly on their newer ships. If you look at any of the Icon and Oasis class ships, especially the Oasis class ships that have come out in the last 10 years, there's no doubt the suite game has gotten better. The Star class, I mean, you really want to look at the Star class amenities. That, by and large, is better than anything else. So that's a really, really nice one to have over there. Best cruise line, private destination, Perfect Day, Coco Key. I mean, preaching to the choir here. Yes, and 1,000 times yes. Is bar none the best. I'm so glad this one won it, because this is definitely one that if you pick any other island, you're absolutely lying to yourself in terms of the comparability of other lines, private island destinations. And Royal Caribbean's are going to, I think, really going to blow everybody else out of the water when Perfect Day Mexico opens up. But I digress. But that was pretty much all Royal Caribbean won for. If I was going to give something else that I think they deserve, there are probably two awards that stand out. I think the best for families, I still think Royal Caribbean certainly better than MSC. So I think that would probably be my first choice for that one. There was also a category for best digital experience. Princess Cruises won it. Now, I'm not going to disparage Princess Cruises. Their medallion technology seems to be really, really good. I'll give them a lot of credit on that. I think Royal's app and certainly their broadbands are good. So I don't know that I would, in all honesty, I mean, I've never experienced Princess, so that's part of the issue here. So I'm going purely on reputation. At least that one I feel like is well deserved. As with any awards, I feel like we all could, nitpick and probably prefer one line over another. I think in some cases I am being totally biased towards Royal Caribbean. In other cases, I'm not so sure about it. I mean, I think some of them are just, I am really surprised at Best Ocean Line being Virgin, because they're just so homogenous across their fleet, and it's been that way for a while now. And then I think also the Best Entertainment was a bit of a surprise for Virgin, and also then giving, best value to Carnival. I'm not against it. I just think there'd be some better candidates for it necessarily. Again, I would think actually MSC, and I'm not an MSC fan at all, but that one kind of stood out a little bit. With the awards, again, I always use them for entertainment, and I feel like in a lot of cases it doesn't line up with some objective things that I would pull up, but nonetheless, I enjoyed talking about it. And hey, at the end of the day, Royal Caribbean won some things. Think they should have won more, but no one asked me. All right, friends, time to answer listener emails. The part of the episode where I answer the emails you've sent me. Our first email is from Kelby. Hi, Matt. Love your content. I'm so excited every Tuesday morning to listen to the live show playback on YouTube. When the first Perfect Day Mexico video was released, I was sold. I was so excited for the deployments last week. I immediately contacted Jen Green at MEI Travel and booked Star of the Seas for November 7th, 2027. Do you think there is a safe date to ensure Perfect Day Mexico will be open? Man, I wish I could tell you there's a safe date. I mean, it's really hard to tell. Is there a safe date? I mean, they haven't said. Originally, when I was in a meeting in Miami where they previewed, basically we got an embargoed advance on Perfect Day Mexico. What that means is, if you guys remember, there was a big hoopla in New York that I went to. And there they announced everything. But like a week or two before that, they gave us information so that we could prepare, because there was so much that was like Perfect Day Mexico, the new beach clubs, Lepa. They didn't want us to be like drinking through a fire hose at a big celebration event and asking 1,000 questions instead of like just enjoying the event and sharing the information, right? So at that event, at the pre-event, if you will, they told us it was going to be at the end of 2027, and I believe September was the month that was conveyed. But since then, they never mentioned that date again, and they've only used late 2027, and they have, actually with the new deployments for 2027 and 2028, there are no actual cruises that technically list Perfect Day Mexico. Even cruises in like April of 2028 don't have Perfect Day Mexico listed. So to your question, Kelby, when is a safe date? I mean, I don't know. I would have thought, certainly something in November or December might be safe, but I'd be lying to you if I told you that there's any kind of guarantee with that. So I think the most responsible thing for me to tell you is there is none. There is none until we know about it. I suspect it will be somewhere there in that last quarter of the year, and I think probably towards the end of the quarter for sure. But I'm not sure exactly when to say is a safe date there, Kelby. And basically, I don't want to disappoint you because I really don't know. And I'm not sure Royal does either. They're going to announce, by the way, just so you all, before you send me an email about this, there will be an announcement at some point here in 2026 to say, okay, this is the official opening day for Perfect Day Mexico. But for now, that doesn't exist. So we don't yet know it, Kelby. So, for you, the start of the sea sailing, I mean, gosh, at the first week of November, I mean, you got a strong chance at it. I feel like you're right in that window. So hopefully it'll work out for you there. Our next email is from Eli. With the new point transferability between Royal Caribbean and Celebrity coming up in 2026, I'm looking at possibly booking Celebrity for January of 28. I've watched videos about Celebrity on YouTube, but still I'm not sure about it. My wife and I are in our 50s, so don't really do water slides, pool, etc. We do enjoy trivia, nightly entertainment, including shows, piano at the Schooner Bar, nightclub, etc. We usually are busy at night up until the piano playing stops at the schooner. I'm worried that on Celebrity we won't have the same experience. Many videos show the beauty of the ship and the seating areas, but gloss over entertainment activities. Any thoughts as you've done both? Your fears are substantiated, Eli. I've done, how many cruises have I done, Celebrity? 2, 3? The reality is there is very little entertainment after 10 o'clock. And I joked about this, but when I went on I love my Celebrity cruise. I had a great time on them, but I really missed having a schooner bar. Like, I never thought I'd miss a schooner bar so much as I did on Celebrity. After 10 o'clock, there was like, I think when I was on Ascent, I think there were like, literally, I counted in the app that day, there were like, 5 events, and like 1 or 2 of them were like watching a sporting event on TV. It really does shut down, and compared to Royal Caribbean, it's night and day. So if nightlife, or like to your point, if having a schooner bar thing is going to be a big problem, that might give you pause to not book it. In my situation, yeah, I was disappointed by that. By the same token, we went to bed earlier, and so we were like, we were more refreshed. It was more of a relaxing vacation in that regard, because we weren't staying up so much as late at night, and so we were able to get more sleep in. I mean, that's a, glasses half full of way of looking at it, being, I want to say, bored. During the daytime, we were totally entertained. There was enough going on around the ship. It was just like that after 10 o'clock. It was basically, you could go to a bar and drink, but there really wasn't like entertainment. It missed that component of like drinking and entertainment, schooner bar, pub, something like that. So it felt like we were not grasping at straws, but it kind of felt that way in terms of like trying to find something to do right there. Next email is from Jim Norris. Hi, Matt. I'm sure you've covered this 1,000 times. Please forgive my ignorance. How do I contact Royal Caribbean if I want to make a request for an upcoming cruise? I'm hoping to get bathrobes and slippers in our stateroom when we arrive. Any guidance you could provide would be greatly appreciated. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I mean, obviously on board the ship, there's actually a QR code you can scan in your cabin and make certain requests for that. But beyond that, like, there are requests you can make on your reservation for like things like, do you want your bed split or separated? Do you need a CPAP machine extension cord? Things of that nature. And that can be done on your reservation. If you book with a travel agent, you just have your travel agent do it for you. Otherwise, you just have to call Royal Caribbean and do that. Once upon a time, like, I remember, like, not too long ago, I used to get an email from Royal Caribbean to do this. Like, here, click this link and submit your request. I can't say I've seen that in a little bit, but certainly just simply calling them up, Jim, if you book directly with a cruise line, and saying, hey, booked on a cruise. Can you, on this date, can we make a request for that to put on the reservation? That probably should work. But worst case scenario, there should be in your cabin when you arrive a QR code on a slip of paper, probably on your vanity at the desk over there, and go from there. You'll be able to fill it out. Next email is from Una. Hey, Matt, really enjoying the podcast. I've been debating booking a spacious inside cabin for my family of 4, mom and dad, 2 boys, ages 8 and 4, for Starry of the Seas because it is last minute and the price is insane for any balcony room. We've only done ocean view balcony rooms on Oasis class, and I'm not sure if I'll like it or not. Although we're pretty active, we don't spend much time in the stateroom, we usually enjoy nice cabins. Would this make our vacation less enjoyable, or feel downgraded the whole time we're there? I don't know if it's a good idea. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I've been here, done that, wrote a blog post about it. The inside cabins are fine. They're functional. They do the trick. It's a place to sleep, and you will not have a terrible time in there. As somebody, and I don't know you at all, obviously, but based on your email, instantly what I thought of is that you will probably have a similar experience to me in some regards, where you're going to go on this cruise, you'll have a fine time, but the entire time you would have thought to yourself, this is good, but I really wish it was a balcony. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to hate it, you're not going to cry, you're not going to regret booking it or anything like that, but I think it would be this constant, almost like a nagging thought, this is good, but it would have been so much better if I just had my balcony room. And I struggle with this a lot and I understand where you're coming from, the price. There have been many times in which before the cruise, I'm like, I'm not paying that. And it could be paying more for a cabin. It could be a cabana. It could be a catamaran, something that I hemmed and hawed about financially because I thought it's not worth the money. Then I get on the cruise and I get there, and I probably at some point say to my wife, if I could snap my fingers and pay for it now, I would absolutely do it. YOLO, book it. It's vacation, and I regret it that way. That's my personality type. I'm sure there's other folks out there who just, count the dollars in their bank account and are no worries at all. And again, I don't know you at all, but this is kind of the vibe I'm getting from this email. So maybe I'm reading way too much into this. So would you hate it? No. But would you maybe think to yourself at least a couple times, I wish I had paid to upgrade to the balcony? Probably. I mean, some people might point out, Matt, Una could book the inside room and then do a royal up bid, try to upgrade a bid for an upgrade. You certainly could do that. The only thing is you really have to go into that thinking to yourself, assuming that you're not going to get the upgrade. You can't go into it as your strategy, because that's going to lead to even more disappointment. Our next email is from Travis. Hi, Matt. Family and I are going on our second Royal Caribbean cruise in January on Rhapsody. I'm wondering if you have any opinions on whether or not the Behind the Wave ship tour is worth the time or money or not. One of my sons is really interested in seeing behind the scenes, but I'm worried that it'll be a big letdown since we are one of on the smallest ships in the fleet. Thanks for the great tips and reviews over the years. They've been vital in helping us understand and getting excited about all things Royal Caribbean cruising. Truth is, I don't think it really matters the size of the ship. It's kind of funny, Travis. I've done behind the scenes ship tours on a lot of ships, new, big, old, small. It's not to say you've seen them all, but they're all the same. They're very similar because behind the scenes, the galley on an Icon class ship and the galley of a Radiance class ship are remarkably similar than different. Because I feel like when you innovate, you tend to innovate in other areas of the ship than the functional, let's get things done areas. Probably the biggest one's the ship's bridge. If you're on an Icon class, it looks like a Star Trek bridge. They have a lot more screens than they do conventional dials. But truly, they're more interchangeable than they're not. So what I'm trying to tell you is actually going to see it on Rhapsody is not a bad thing at all. I don't think you're really shortchanging yourself one bit. I certainly would not book it because of that. So I say go for it. When it comes to the behind the scenes tours, I always tell people, and your son certainly fits the bill on this one. If you've ever thought to yourself, going on a backstage tour and seeing these areas of the ship, does that sound really cool or really not cool? If it sounds really cool, then you should definitely do the tour. Our next email is from Morgan. I'm a longtime listener, and I believe this is the third time for me to email and ask you a question, and you're always very helpful in answering my questions and very helpful information every week. Thanks to you for the good work. So my question is about my next cruise next September to Alaska on the Voyager of the Seas. I booked a guaranteed interior room, but since then, I've done some research, and seems like I should have done a balcony on the sailing. Should I try to redo my room, or should I try and do a bid on Royal Up? I've never done a roll up before, and I don't know how it works. Just want your input on it and some advice on what I should do, or should I just keep the room I got? Thanks for your help. Oh man, I have a strong opinion on this one. People disagree with me on this one. I think you're totally fine. The conventional wisdom that if you're in Alaska, you should get a balcony room is rooted in advice that came out like 30 years ago. And what I mean by this is, once upon a time, when cruise ships were a lot smaller, the conventional wisdom was, oh, you should book a balcony, because by having a private balcony, when you're going to glacier viewing or you're seeing nature, you have a private deck space. Because back then, on other cruise ships, public deck space would be very competitive. Number one, ships of that age had very few balcony cabins to begin with, so there's more competition on public decks to go viewing. Number two is the size of the ships were such that basically they were obviously much smaller, so there's less space to contend with, and all that led to this particular piece of advice. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to have a balcony, but I'm going to go on a limb here, Morgan, and say that the difference in price between your guaranteed inside room, and a balcony room is fairly substantial. Like, probably enough to easily cover a awesome shore excursion or two in Alaska. And so I don't think you're wrong by any means. I mean, the first time I did Alaska, we had a balcony room. And I was like, listen to everybody. And then during our glacier viewing day, when we were in Dawes Glacier, we were on our balcony, watched the whole thing, cool. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up on the top deck of the pool deck. I'm going to go see all the peons and not laugh at them, but like, kind of see what it's like. How bad is it? And I went up there and it was totally fine. There was tons of space and tons of room to go around. That was on Explorer of the Seas. When I went on Serenade of the Seas, same thing. Plenty of room. And Serenade, Radiance class ship, is significantly older and smaller than Explorer. I really don't think it's a problem. Now, is it piggybacking on that email we just talked about? Would it be nice to have a balcony? Absolutely. Is it super convenient to be able to sit in your bed, open the blinds and simply look out your balcony to the nature? Absolutely. So it's not that it's bad, but I don't want you to go into it. I know what you did. You read a lot of things, articles and YouTube videos like, oh, you should get a balcony room. And they're not wrong. It's not a bad idea, but it's not as critical or must-have as it may seem, because I think, quite frankly, this piece of advice has been around for decades. And I believe it's rooted in a cruising world that largely doesn't exist. Certainly not on Royal Caribbean. I can't speak for other lines and other smaller ships out there, but at least for Royal Caribbean, I really don't think it'd be a problem. Our next email is from Brent Jeffrey. Writes, your unofficial president of the Canadian chapter of the Matt Hochberg fan club, current membership 19. Hi again, Matt. With Perfect Day Mexico on the horizon and all the amazing new beach clubs that Royal Caribbean is developing, do you see measurable trend in cruising where loyal cruisers from other lines will be making the jump to Royal Caribbean? It must be difficult to arrive in Nassau, see a big, beautiful Royal ship docked at the port with all those lucky Royal Caribbean guests going to the Royal Beach Club. They must all be throwing their hands up in the air saying, enough, time to transfer to Royal Caribbean. Is there a metric by Royal Caribbean can measure new guest transfers from other lines? I'm sure there is, Brent, but I mean, they don't share that. Royal said, and this has been true for years, they don't really market towards other customers from other lines. Like, it's a very small pool, and it's very difficult to convince somebody who cruises Carnival or Disney or NCL, you should come over to Royal, because there's a bit of an allegiance. It's kind of like, if you think about your favorite coffee brand, or your favorite restaurant to some extent, or whatever, like, you have a favorite, one particular company you like. I mean, if you're a UPS guy versus FedEx guy, if you're a Starbucks guy versus Dunkin' Donuts guy, I think it's really difficult to basically, attract someone away. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but what I'm trying to say is what Royal's really trying to do with all this is not so much appeal to the Carnival cruiser or the MSC cruiser. They want to appeal to the people who have never cruised before. They want to appeal to people who have never been on a ship, and then they see this in the marketing, of course, and they're like, what? So wait, let me get this straight. You're going to go on an amazing ship that looks way bigger than I ever thought it was, and you have your own private place over here in the Bahamas, and your own private place in Perfect Day Mexico. Like, basically, it's a way to attract the new to cruise, because there are substantially more of those than there are people who have cruised before. I mean, the amount of people in the general public, whether you're in Canada or the US, that have cruised before is like a very small percentage compared to those who have never cruised before. And that's just the lower hanging fruit, and that's who they're going after with it. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to get some sort of a bleed over, or at least some folks who at least try it out. I know plenty of friends of mine who were ardent Disney Cruise Line fans, as an example, who wanted to try Royal Caribbean because they were just like, well, I still like Disney, but like it's hard to not look over the fence and see like these amazing things over there. And I think that will be a factor. But I don't think it's going to be, number one, a giant factor. And I certainly don't think they're going to be going to the lengths of doing. I mean, the way that you would know they would be targeting other cruise line members is doing what Virgin Voyages recently announced, which is offering, a status matching. When you offer that, that is a clear, we want the other competitors' customers. So beyond that, I'm not so sure that Royal is really leaning in that direction there. So it's a really good email, though, a really good question to kind of figure all that out. All right, last email today is coming to us from Brian. Hey, Matt, family and I enjoy your content. Just wanted your opinion. Galveston is our home port. We live in Oklahoma City. Getting tired of Costa Maya and Roatan, honestly. Do you think 5 nights on Freedom of the Seas going to Coco Key and Cozumel is worth paying for flights? Best price I could find for a cruise, about $130 per person per night, Memorial Day weekend. Brian, it's a really good question. The issue here is, I would agree with you, yes, it is worth flying to just change it up, because you just said yourself, you're sick of Costa Maya and Roatan. But you're paying for a cruise that does go to Coco Key, which would be different, but you're also going to Cozumel. Like, if you're going to pay for a flight, I would recommend you do one that goes to the Eastern Caribbean. And includes Coco, sure, certainly. But that particular one, I wouldn't say, because you're going to Cozumel. You're going to end up in the Western Caribbean. Like, it's akin to, like, my wife jokes about it. If we book a cruise out of New York, and our cruise visits Port Canaveral, she's like, what was the point of this? We could have just driven here from home. So I feel like that's not the play. I would recommend looking at something else. Honestly, I'd recommend a 7-nighter, so you can get that Eastern Caribbean flow. Maybe even fly to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and do a Southern Caribbean. And that's going to be significantly less expensive than even cruises out of Florida. So that'd be definitely what I would recommend, Brian, for you. Thank you for the email. Thank you to everybody for checking out this episode of the Royal Caribbean Blog Podcast. Of course, you can always email me your questions, matt@royalcaribbeanblog.com, MATT@royalcaribbeanblog.com. Until next time, I'm Matt. We'll talk again real soon.